correct based on the dog DNA test.
Oh, I see. Yeah. All right. Man, she has more followers than me. Maybe. No, actually. No. All right.
Don't get jealous.
Hey.
You can't get that kind of draw being a human.
So there is a dog that I met on the Caltrain called Everyone Loves Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone loves Mav. Okay. 23,000 followers. I guess cap call for the year. It's been fun. I will do one thing starting in January is that I'll send the survey just like I did last year to figure out how to move forward, just to get your feedback, and also figuring out, who should maybe help me on this. I'm happy to keep doing it, but certainly there are other people that are very capable and maybe willing to do it. So we'll do that, and also just to find out if the format works in terms of the 2 talks and so on. So if you have feedback before the survey, feel free to send it to me. If you don't feel comfortable sending it to me, you have Chip, you have Swarna, you have Chris, all from the CFF. Feel free to ping them, send them update. Especially if, I feel you should be able to talk to me, but if you somehow, for some reason, don't want to, if you have very negative feedback, that's okay too. Send it to Swarna and Chip. They'll figure out a way to send it to me, and then we can move forward. But I'll send an official survey starting next year. So with that, let's pass it to Swarna so you can give us an update on CFF. I know there was a CF Day in Seattle. I saw you, so tell us about that.
Yeah, we saw you briefly, and I do have a lot of negative feedback about your presence at CF Day Seattle. Who should I send that to, Max?
You can send it to my manager, but I did register and paid for it, so.
Means nothing if you don't show up, man. Anyway, won't take too much time. So we had a really good presence at Seattle last week. It was exhausting. It was long and tiring, but it was really good. We had a ton of volunteers from the community from all different locations and regions show up at the booth and spend time at the booth, helping answer any questions that folks had at Cloud Foundry. At KubeCon, so that was really helpful. And Max and the rest of the IBM team, I think the keynote presence was definitely timely and it was spot on. So that drove a ton of questions and ton of traffic at both the booths as well. I saw both IBM booth and Cloud Foundry booth, and I think even the rest of the Cloud Foundry member booths kind of being packed all the time. Anytime I went by the SUSE booth or Alturas, everyone was packed all the time. So that was definitely a good presence for all of our ecosystem and the members. So thank you very much for making that extremely successful. I do have a few updates that I included in the document. I mean, not a whole lot. We will have the schedule open for Summit Philadelphia in January. I think the co-chairs are reviewing the sessions that came in as we speak. So look for a schedule being announced sometime in mid-January. The registration is still open. It's already open. So if you want to register, go for it. The contributors code has been sent to CFDev. So if you haven't registered, if you're a contributor, please look for the email in the CFDev mailing list and do use that code. Just one quick reminder, just a kind of a logistics reminder that we will be shut down. The entire foundation will be shut down for the holidays from December 22nd to January 6th. So if you have any burning question, please do ask before that. Some of us will be checking email every now and then. I think someone here from the foundation did volunteer to check email every now and then. But if you have any questions and if you don't hear from us during that shutdown time, I just assume that we are probably out and not checking our emails then. And with that, Chip, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add was I think a couple of thanks for an awesome year. So first, the technical community, the collaborators, contributors, the committers, project leads. It's been an amazing year. We have the opportunity to talk to a lot of the customers, the different distributions, as well as the users of the open source. And it's really amazing to hear all the great feedback, all kinds of different use cases from the developer experience for the application runtime. So that's been really amazing over the course of the year. The other thing that I'd say that's been kind of highlighted 20 year that we're going to try more over in 2019 has been just the continued activity around embracing open source projects from throughout the broader ecosystem, because I think that one of the most mature things that our technical community does is kind of the right time to adopt outside once it reaches the point of either near maturity or mature. When they're near maturity, we lean in consistently into those communities and kind of help them get to the point of it being a useful component of the CF architecture. And there's just been so much of that work that's gone on, both bringing new capabilities in the architecture, but also things like the Cloud Native Build Packs project, kind of taking something that's very fundamental to Cloud Foundry and finding ways to make that work with other platforms. So that's been really amazing, and it speaks to the the openness of our technical community to embrace other things, to not always have to build things ourselves, but also to build things ourselves when it's the right choice. So thanks to everybody for all of that effort. And I think last thing I'll say is Dr. Max should do an amazing job with this call year over year. I agree that it's always good to and pushing us forward. So that's it.
Well, thank you, Chip Headroom. You came across very stuttering, just like Max Headroom, but that was pretty cool, actually. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah, it's a special effect I turned on the phone just for you.
Nice. All right, cool. I think I only have one question for Swana. If other people have questions, let's queue it up quickly. But I've had 2 or 3 people ask me if I knew the count of the submission count for Philadelphia. Can you share, or do you have any numbers that you can share? Especially because we didn't have the extra extension, so did that affect it?
I don't think it affected. I think we had a ton of submissions come in. I think I don't have the exact numbers accessible, but I will get those numbers from Deb. But I think we were as close to Boston as we could have imagined, if not the exact number of submissions. The lack of extension and also the holidays and the short or gap between the 2 summits, the October summit and the deadline here, did not affect that at all. So. Okay. Even we were keeping our fingers crossed that it would not affect, and I think that was spot on.
Okay, sweet, perfect.
Yeah.
Any other question for Swana, very quickly? Anybody? No. Okay, so the first speaker asked to present now. So this is Janos Binder from SAP. So Janos is going to talk about Terraform for CF. Do you want to share?
Yes, just give me a second. I just have to set up here the technology. It's always a kind of challenge. Okay.
This is work with Pivotal as well as Guillaume from, I guess, Orange.
Okay, so thank you, Max. So I'm János Binder, and I'm working with SAP. In my role, we have been responsible to deploy. We are mostly in my team. We are mostly Cloud Foundry users, and we have been developed microservices for various machine learning problems, and we wanted to deploy these small applications into Cloud Foundry. So this is how I get into touch with Cloud Foundry, and we wanted to use a provider. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Great, and we see your screen also.
Okay, so. We have figured out that there is this nice tool Terraform, which is mostly used for setup and infrastructure. So, for example, if you are deploying your AVS or a GCP cluster, Terraform is mostly one of the most used tool to set up the nodes, the failover rules, and so on. And then this Terraform is basically using various providers, and that I have been searching for a Cloud Foundry provider, and I have find a very nice one, which is shared on GitHub. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think we need to go on mute, folks.
Okay.
Janos.
Okay, so I just want to make clear that I will show you some links, but don't worry, I have already added these links to the meeting notes, so you can check them later. And what I liked really this October, that there was this Cloud Foundry summit in Basel, where I had the chance to meet with the people behind this who have contributed to this provider. For example, Guillaume, who is also in the call, is working for Orange, or Mevan is working for Pivotal. And both of us and all of us have been improving different parts of the provider. For example, I know that that Mevan and Guillaume are more focused on making sure that they can set up a Cloud Foundry organization space and users. We have been more focused on setting up Cloud Foundry applications or service instances. So we have been working on different parts of the provider. I have been also talking a bit that that we are deploying these microservices in Cloud Foundry. I want to give you a short overview of our architecture and tell you why we have been using Terraform. So basically, we have multiple tiers. So we have here. I don't know if I use my mouse, whether you can see that I'm using that. But basically, we have a Cloud Foundry tier, where we have these Cloud Foundry based applications. Then we have a compute tier where we run our machine learning services. This one needs mostly GPU accelerations, and they are running over Kubernetes. And the persistence tier has, for example, sometimes we have to reach an SV bucket on AVS. So this means that when we deploy our landscape, we have to deploy over Cloud Foundry, we have to deploy over Kubernetes, and we have to also deploy over AVS, which means that to support these three landscapes, then we needed a tool, and then Terraform was the tool that helped us with this issue. So this was basically from our architecture overview, and now I would like to give a short introduction that how does Terraform works in the real life. So here I show you. Actually, this is a demo that Guillaume has prepared, and I have adopted it for our SAP platform. But you can basically download this demo and then also try it on your offering. So here. In here you can see the configuration file. I want to explain that what is the difference between data and what is the difference between resource. So data, what is already there. For example, we have already the Cloud Foundry space set up, and we have also the organization already set up. And we have also, for example, we have a Postgres service where you can see the various service offering, and this is also coming from the platform, so we don't want to set up. However, there are also these resources. Resources are the things that you, when you run Terraform, that you want to set up. So here we want to set up a PostgreSQL instance. We also want to set up a root for our demo application, and we also want to set up a Cloud Foundry app. And then let's see how does this work in the real life. So if I run this thing, so how well you can see my console? Can you see my console?
Yeah.
So I mean, usually when you have a Terraform setup, then you start with the init. This basically make sure that the providers are in the place, and then you can say that okay, Terraform plan, and then plan says that what needs to be added, and then if you scroll through, then you can see that we have to add the app. We also have to add the root, and we also have to add the service instance for the PostgreSQL. So if I check now, you can see that nothing is there, and I can now call Terraform apply. And then this is basically for the plan that you see what is going to get applied. And then you see that I say yes. And then this is now creating the root, the service instance, and the application. Maybe in another window, I can see that the application is now coming up. The service instance might be already running. So you see that it has been already created. Let's go back and let's see what is going on. So it's still setting up the application. And what is also really nice about Terraform, so basically Terraform is a graph execution engine, so it can see what kind of dependencies do you have. So before setting up this app, it knows that the app will need a root, and the app will also need this Postgres service instance, so it will set up these first two first, and then afterwards the application. Okay, so now we should have the application there, and it's running. What can also do, what I also like, that for example, you can do some changes. For example, I could say that I want to deploy a new version of this application, or I want to increase the memory. For example, here I increase the memory to 1 gig. Let's save it, and then let's see what will happen. And I say again, apply. And then it says that, oh, that this application now needs more memory. Then let's update it. Probably it's now increasing the memory and restarting it. So I also have to add it as a side note that that we really like in Terraform, that you can really also use it for application deployment, and I think that's a really nice feature. And I mean, this whole graph dependence, that discovering the dependencies, it has been really a big asset for us. For example, you have a value which is coming up from a Kubernetes endpoint, and then you can insert it into for one of your CF applications. This endpoint. So back to the demo, you can see that now the memory has been increased to 1 gig. And then you can see that it's indeed now 1 gig. And then you can say that, okay, I am finished with the demo. Let's tear down the demo landscape, and you can use just basically Terraform destroy. and it will now destroy the application, the root, and the service instance. So basically, this was my demo on the Terraform Cloud Foundry provider. And if you have any questions, I'm very happy to take them.
Excellent. Thank you, Janos. Let me see if you have any question on the Slack, but if you have questions, unmute yourself.
Do we have questions on the Slack? I don't see any questions on the Slack.
So I have one question. Did you guys think of submitting this for incubation? I guess to add it under the Cloud Foundry incubator.
To my knowledge, that we have submitted this for for HashiCorp to become an official provider, but I see that Guillaume is in the call, so maybe he can give more insight on this question.
Yes, it makes more sense for the Terraform providers to be managed by HashiCorp because it gets then included into the official documentation and CI. So that's why we haven't considered recently applying for incubator into Cloud Foundry and getting through this cycle. But we're pretty happy to get feedback and obviously contribution from the Cloud Foundry community.
No, actually, I think it makes sense. Are you making progress on the work with HashiCorp or to get it there, or
yes, we want to remain with 0.10 versioning for now because we are still lacking feedback and adoptions to switch to a 1.0 versioning and ensure there will be no compatibility, no backward incompatibility change. But yes, we're progressing. The CF Summit was great to get feedback from the community, including resource modeling and naming. So we are taking improvements and implementing them from there. Okay, cool. All right. Maybe another point I can mention, we are based on the CCAPI v2. There would be a lot of work to migrate to v3 in the future. That would be great to be able to share this work of migration from v2 to v3 with the rest of the community, including the CLI team, which is acting as a CCAPI v3 client. We hope that the v3 migration work could be a way to extract a Golang client that the Terraform provider and other project could rely on. And we'll see how this will progress with the CLI team that we have been contacting and the CF Summit Basel for this. Okay, cool. Okay, last chance for question for Janos or Guillaume. Anybody? No? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right, cool. So now we're going to the PMC, I guess, the regular thing that we usually do, which is kind of highlights. And we usually start with Eric, who's been great to add tons of updates. So maybe you can give us a quick overview of this. Hey?
I'll be pretty fast because I know we have the CF Dev discussion as well. A few highlights. Release integration is planning on cutting version 7 of CF deployment in January. So Josh sent out a proposal about that to CF Dev recently, and please comment on it if you have a chance. Some other exciting pieces of work. The CAPI team is at a point where they would really like beta feedback on zero downtime deployments. This is something you have to enable in your CF deployment via an ops file. But it's live on PDubs right now. So if you, as an app developer or an operator, have any feedback, they'd really appreciate that. And they're also closing out an effort to add labels and annotations on a lot of the entities in the Cloud Controller API. So that should be landing soon as well. Routing has some exciting news. They continue to hit larger and larger scaling markers for their adoption of Istio Pilot and Envoy as a gateway proxy, as the new unified ingress routing tier for the app runtime. And along those lines, container networking is closing out some work on dynamic egress rules as a more dynamic replacement for app security groups. And they're also making progress on doing transparent client-side load balancing via Envoy to other apps on the platform. And Yeah, a few other things. I know we've been going through the CF Linux FS2 to FS3 migration, but on the Windows side, they're doing their own migration. They realized that actually doesn't make sense to version the Windows stack with the Windows version because of the API compatibility guarantees that Microsoft makes about Windows. And so they're just transitioning that to a Windows Forever stack. So that's in flight in CF deployment as well. And then one other highlight, I know the Arini project has passed an initial set of core cats and are now focused on knocking down other sets of those and to get to parity with the existing app runtime backend.
Cool.
As always, if you want to see more detail, we've got the PMC notes on GitHub, so please feel free to look through those and reach out on Slack or email or on CFDev.
Yeah, and I think you hold every 2 weeks meeting. So I've attended those. If you're interested in the details of what's going on, like for instance, the Arini project, just join and chat with the folks that are, running those projects. Any questions for Eric or, I guess runtime related stuff? No? Yeah, I know it's December and I want to be done with this. All right, fair enough. Thank you, Eric.
Sure thing. Thanks, Dr. Max.
No question for you. Not even an Arini question, which is interesting. All right, cool. So we have Fred here, and I think maybe even the rest of the Bosch PMs.
Yeah, well, I think I'm on my own today, but
Okay. Sweet.
I'll be good enough to make up for that. So in the news, our PMC Marco Vols PMC lead, he announced that he would be stepping down as the Bosch Core Europe PM because he was assuming both roles. Essentially, this is linked to a new job he'll have at SAP, where he will still think about the future of Bosch, but other things as well. So he is stepping down as the PM for the team, and somebody else will take over. So I put the link to the specific mailing list message in the meeting notes. As well, I sent out an email today with announcing or making public our vision and strategy document. So the team has been trying to make more explicit where we are headed and the new features that will be coming and that kind of stuff. So the document is public now. You can comment. Obviously, our roadmap is as good. I mean, it's expired as soon as you make it public, right? So we expect things to change, but in a positive way, in the sense that we want a dialogue with the community and really be more open about where we are at it. So anyway, you have the link to the message in the notes as well. Toronto team is working now on implementing rotation for manifest defined certificates. So this will be useful in a lot of contexts, especially if you have releases with lots of variables that are certificates. We are in the planning stage to make improvements to our drain lifecycle, so gathering requirements on that. So if you have opinions, please reach out to me. I'm on Slack, more than happy to hop on a call and hear from you if you are a release author. San Francisco team is making improvements to our DNS LTNS stuff. So essentially now you'll be able to target a specific job instead of just an instance. So this makes it more granular and you'll be able to know if specific jobs are up or down, which can be certainly useful. And then we in San Francisco as well have implemented security improvement where essentially no credentials will be written to disk anymore. So this is really nifty. If you want, well, we'll probably announce or publish more details about that in our documentation on bosch.io, but if you're curious about it, please reach out and we'll see what we can tell you at this point. And that's about it.
Thank you so much, Frederick. So what does that mean when so does it mean that the credentials are in memory and?
Yeah, well, we are using TempFS RAM disk essentially to write them. So that's, I mean, they are still there, right? We don't have a choice at this point in time. but we are still, well, we are already contemplating future improvements like encrypting the whole thing and then having real-time decryption, that kind of stuff. But at least this incremental improvement provides, certainly reduces the potential for exploits. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yes, Frederic. All right, let's see if there's any question for Fred. No questions. Okay, I don't see anything on the Slack. Okay, so I'll do a quick update. I guess for the Open Service Worker API, I know Doug is moving to something new at IBM, but maybe I'll see if I can get his sort of the person that's going to back him up to join this call. But Matt, I don't know if Matt is here. We haven't had an update from them in a while. Okay, I'll make sure that for next year we will have whoever. Otherwise, I'll take that because I know there's been activities in Open Service Worker, so that should be a good thing. All right, cool. So for extensions, quickly, I put a link for the notes. Obviously, we're gonna have an update of CF Dev right after this, so we can hear about what's going on. I've been trying to sort of promote this project because I think it's great, and I think Steven and the team are doing, really cool stuff like Chip was mentioning about the buildpack.io work that they're doing. So this is kind of like this entire team with Steven Levine leading, and they're going to give us an update. But there's also a couple more projects worth mentioning, some highlights. So first, Stratos v2.2. I think that's the one that has the extension mechanism. So if you want to extend the UI, you can actually do that. So you can add your own tabs and stuff like that. I think they were trying to figure out, people that wanted to sort of the lead to try this, if you're interested. And then also the team from SAP, multi-apps, they added better support for the OSB API, as well as, ways to deal with parallel apps and services. They've asked me to do a demo updates. I just didn't get a chance to sync up with them for this call, especially since we already have two presentations, but very likely this will happen next year. So you'll get an update on this. And then also buildpacks move their Node.js support. So that's that. The call for extensions is not going to happen this year because it would have been on Monday, which is the 24th of December, which is, I guess, day before Christmas for Christians. So it's kind of a bad day. So we'll figure out next year and get an update on this. Okay. So with that, let's see if there are any questions, just generically. Otherwise, we're gonna pass it to I think it's Sam Dawson of Pivotal, who is gonna give us a quick update on CF Dev. It is not the mailing list; it's actually a project. This is gonna be recorded. Hopefully, Sam will give us a better explanation of what CF Dev is. I'm very excited about this tool, so that's why I also want to, I'm excited to see it happen. So Sam, you might have to share your screen.
Yep, happy to share my screen. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can see you.
Great,
And,
okay.
Yeah,
So as Dr. Max mentioned, my name's Sam. I'm with Pivotal in New York. So I'm just joining the CF Dev team this week with Scott. Scott has been bringing me up to speed. He's out sick today, but I did want to just give a quick update to everyone about what we've been doing and a quick introduction for those who are not yet familiar with CF Dev. So I will share my screen now.
Yeah, it's starting. Yep, we can see it.
Okay. Sure. So we see the title slide here.
Yes, yes.
Great. Okay, yeah, so please reach out to me on Slack with any questions or any follow-up. For those who are not yet familiar with CFDev, CFDev is a project that we've been working on. It's sort of like running CF in miniature on a local machine or on a single machine. So we've been working on a way to spin up CFDev using the native hypervisors on the computer. As a way to start CFDev and build and run some applications. So some of the common use cases that we've been thinking about are debugging locally or spinning up a CF instance to sort of kick the tires, or as a way to begin application development in a CF environment if the rest of the network is locked down. So some of the things that are new, I imagine, since this group last heard about CFDev that we've been working on. So the ability to start using the state disk, starting with a smaller amount of RAM and reducing the time to start CF. We've also added some telemetry to observe usage. And provided a memory warning to the user at start if their machine is not does not have sufficient memory to start CF. So I've been playing around doing some acceptance on these different stories, trying to increase our performance and get our memory footprint down. These times aren't exact, but here's roughly what we're seeing. There should be a little GIF here that shows the startup sequence in terminal. So using the cfdev start command, just running through the cycle there and showing that we have been able to start in about 20 minutes and also have been able to start cfdev using a smaller memory footprint of 5 gigabytes has been the smallest that I've been able to do it. But we're continuing to test this on different machines to see how small we can make that footprint and how quickly we can get CFDev up and running locally. Some things that we are thinking about next are supporting Linux, the ability to deploy or undeploy services once CFDev is running. So right now we could either start with MySQL or without. We couldn't, though, deploy or undeploy that service once we're up and running. So that's a thing that we're thinking about doing, as well as binding local volume services to apps that are started. So today you can get the CLI plugin, CFDev start, spin it up on your computer. You could then start a MySQL service. You could push an app, and you could bind the MySQL service to that app. And then thinking about these as the next things that are coming up, all along the mindset of trying to reduce that footprint and startup time, so to make it easier for people to spin up a local instance of CF. So that's all I got for an update. Happy to field any questions and also gather any feedback from this group. As I mentioned, this is my first week, so I'm sort of coming up to speed in this space. So I would be interested to hear from anyone who has used CFDev or is interested in using CFDev or any of the use cases in mind.
Cool. So they put you on the hot seat.
They did, yeah. But that's all right. I've had a couple days to play around with it and start it up on a few different machines and familiarize myself with the product roadmap and all that. So happy to be put in the hot seat. So
when you say 5 gig, it means that it actually will reserve that entire 5 gig on the machine, right? So if my machine has 8 gig, then I have 3 gig left for anything else, right? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I guess it's not too much of an issue these days since most things have 16 gig or more, but
yep.
Obviously, yeah, that's good. And this is Mac, Windows, and Linux, right?
Currently Mac and Windows. Linux is on our roadmap.
I see. Okay, cool.
Yep.
Excellent. I have another question, but let's see if there's anybody else that have a question.
Sure.
No? Okay, I don't see anything on the Slack or the notes.
Okay.
Quickly, so you mentioned that the use case obviously is to get started with CF very quickly in 30 minutes, like you show, or under 30 minutes, I guess.
Yep.
And to be disconnected. Do you see any other use case for this? Just to kind of like give people ideas on how they should be excited about this and get started with this? Or?
We've also heard of some application developers wanting or using CF Dev for debugging an application if they're having issue or being locked out of other parts of the network for the CF actual foundation within an enterprise.
Okay.
So that's one of the use cases that I'm interested in exploring. And then the primary one was what you mentioned. I think though, as I take over this product roadmap, one of the things that I'm really interested in doing is understanding how people are using it and what they're using it for. That's a big reason why we've put in some of the telemetry to see what the usage is, but also reaching out to the community and engaging with people to see how it's being used and how people want to use it, and then trying to support those use cases.
Sweet. Thank you.
Maybe one feedback in terms of use cases. The tooling authors that develop tools and needs to integrate with Cloud Foundry and run automated tests. Some of them, including the Terraform project that was demoed before by Janos, have a hard time maintaining their pipeline to get them up and running an updated Cloud Foundry instance, and would like to benefit from CF Dev.
Yeah.
So that'd be awesome to be able to run those tests in Circle CI or in Travis without maintaining full-fledged Cloud Foundry pipeline in one of the IIS for running those automated tests.
Yeah, that's great. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Cool. So just to be clear for people, you basically are running your entire Cloud Foundry. So basically, in let's say you have an environment that's using the latest version with CF Dev on your laptop, you can run pretty much the same bits. This is why this is powerful, right? And you get it running in under 30 minutes. So.
Yep, and we're trying to keep that footprint and startup time small to make it easy to get up and going, but be able to do what you just mentioned, Dr. Max.
Cool. Excellent. So I guess it's really the end of the year. We thank you, everybody. This is pretty much a wrap because I don't see any questions. So unless I see an interruption, this is it for 2018, and we'll see you in January. Have a great holiday. Relax. Take care of yourself and your family, and we'll see you next year. Take care, everybody.
Great.
Cheers.
Thank you. Nice meeting you all.
Bye.